Being needy will absolutely ruin your relationship or your dating life. Listen, I'm a dating coach and a relationship coach. I've coached hundreds of men and women. And one pattern that I've seen time and time again when working with clients is neediness has to be addressed at the root. Failing to do so pretty much guarantees that whatever you got going on in your romantic life will soon end. It's a guarantee. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you the 3 reasons why neediness is bad, but also the 3 solutions. Not Band-Aid solutions either. Not something that you're going to do is going to temporarily make you less needy. No, you're going to go from needy to not needy anymore after watching this video, if you apply what I tell you. Now, before we get started, we have to get clarity around what it means to be needy, because a lot of people take that to mean you shouldn't have any needs in a relationship. And then some people also believe that being needy isn't a problem because I have needs. I want my needs to be met. So neediness isn't an issue. It's just being a person. Both of those idiots are wrong. Both of them. 2 dummies. 2 bad opinions. Here's the thing. Neediness, to be needy, is different than having needs. There are certain needs, healthy needs, one will require in a romantic situation, such as honesty, integrity, loyalty, reciprocation, right? Someone who is as invested into the relationship as you are. Those needs are important, and you should stand 10 toes down when it comes to that expectation. Now, being needy is a different thing. Being needy, the way that I define it, neediness, is attempting to manage your internal state by what your partner is doing. So you have an internal experience. You feel bad. Now you put that expectation on the person you're with to make you feel better. You can't make yourself feel better. That effectively will make you a needy person. That's what we have to get rid of. That shit. Not taking ownership of how you feel. Not being able to validate yourself internally, make yourself feel good, and thus giving that responsibility to the woman that you are with. So why is neediness a bad thing, right? What kind of problems does this create in a relationship? Now, just to be clear, this applies to both men and women. I'm kind of talking directly to men too, but I also coach women. So if you're a woman watching this, stick around because this is going to be helpful for you too. But why is neediness a bad thing in a relationship? How does it cause problems? It's deeper than what you may think. The first is, many men have experienced this, but women tend to be repulsed by needy men. You probably experienced this, especially if you are a man who has been needy in a relationship. Maybe you're anxiously attached. Maybe you need a lot of reassurance within the connection, right? Maybe you don't really have a life and you depend on your woman to be around you, attached to the hip 24/7, and she has her own life. You've learned from firsthand experience how that can kill the connection. But why is that? Because sometimes when women are needy, although us men don't like it, it doesn't seem to have the same impact on us as it does to them. A man, in other words, can kind of tolerate a needy woman, but a woman very rarely tolerates a needy man. And the reason is because we're different. You see, women are the weaker vessels. No disrespect, ladies, but physically, they're the weaker vessels. Historically, their survival was contingent upon them choosing a strong man to protect and provide. Their survival depended on it, meaning if they made the wrong decision, them and their children could be off the face of the earth. And even though we no longer live in those type of circumstances, that shit is hard coded into their DNA. Okay, so they still unconsciously vet for it. They still unconsciously vet for strength. They want strong men, not just physically strong, but also a man who is internally strong. He has a lot of inner fortitude, a lot of vitality. And when you are being needy with your woman, you are subcommunicating weakness, and they are programmed to avoid weakness by any means necessary. You see, women respond very positively, assuming the feeling is mutual, assuming that you are an attractive guy. They respond very positively by being desired, right? Being cherished, being desired. They respond positively to that. Women want you to desire them. They don't want you to need them. That's a completely different thing. Communicates weakness, and it will absolutely turn them off. Some will be forgiving towards it for a time, but best believe you're on the clock. If you don't solve that problem, it will be the primary reason why she is out the door. Now, the second reason why neediness is bad and it creates bad relational outcomes is because it can influence who you decide to be with. I always tell my clients, both men and women, that the mistake usually in relationships was made at the very beginning. The mistake was the person that you chose. Now, how does neediness cause you to choose the wrong person? If you're a guy or a gal out there watching and you're needy for a relationship, you just feel like you have to be with someone, you can't really be alone, you're not comfortable in your solitude, it can create urgency. Neediness creates urgency, and urgency is the mother of bad decisions. In other words, if you're needy for a relationship, if you're needy for love, if you're needy for affection, it will cause you to urgently try to fill that slot. And when you urgently try to fill that slot in your life, it will cause you to not vet people appropriately. Vetting is essentially observing somebody's behavior over time to ensure they meet your standards. You will bypass that shit. You won't even pay attention to red flags because you're so fixated on getting this person in a relationship so that you can receive their validation, so that you can feel like you are desired, right? That's neediness. It causes you to make bad decisions. The better position would be to desire a relationship, to desire love, but not need it because your life is so full. We'll get into solutions near the end of this video, but that's a little sneak peek, right? You don't want to come from a place where you absolutely need a wife, where you absolutely need a girlfriend, where you absolutely need sex. It's okay to desire those things, but once they become needs, they start to mess up the system. Now, the third reason why neediness is unattractive is because it influences you to behave in very unattractive ways. The neediness itself is a problem, but there are behaviors that are connected to the neediness, which absolutely will lead to you turning off your woman. A lot of guys who are very needy in a relationship, I call these safety guys, right? You know, my two sides of attraction, spark and safety. A lot of these needy guys, these safety guys, are terrified of their woman leaving because they need them. So what do? They abandon themselves to ensure they keep the woman happy. They do whatever they can. They contort themselves in all types of shapes in order to make sure they appease her, to make sure she is happy. They abide by, either consciously or unconsciously, the happy wife, happy life ideology. That's the wrong approach. You see, because it influences you to become a people pleaser. It also can influence you to become jealous and monitoring her behavior, which just lowers safety on both ends of the spectrum, both for the man and the woman. So then the foundation of the relationship tends to just crumble and wither away until it ultimately ends. So what is the solution? Because a lot of people don't give you guys solutions on how to not be needy. They just tell you don't be needy, right? And I've heard other dating coaches say something to the effect of, if you're a needy guy, you should just date multiple women. I understand why they say that. That mechanism does work. Dating multiple women will make you appear to be less needy, but consider this. If you're someone who wants a relationship, what happens when you eliminate those other options? What do you think happens after that? You become needy again, right? Because what you're doing is you're spreading your neediness amongst many women. You're looking for validation from all of these women, right? You're still being needy, but it's diluted because it's spread against multiple women. But when you actually choose one, it becomes concentrated. You're effectively taking the magnifying glass and shining the rays of the sun on your woman until she burns to a crisp. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So what is the actual solution? Well, there's three parts. The first thing is what I hinted to earlier in this video. You have to build out your life. You have to build a life, gentlemen. You have to find some sort of purpose that you are on. I'm not the first one to tell you that. Many people have said it. Let me be one to repeat it. You need a purpose in life. You have to build out redundancy in your life so that you have multiple domains, multiple sources that can kind of fill up your cup. Now, I know that sounds similar to dating multiple women, but I'm not saying that. You need to engage in meaningful activities, make progress in meaningful things so that you can start to not be so dependent on your woman to produce good feelings for you. Once you put yourself in that situation, once you build out that system in your life, you're constantly filling up your tank, so there's no need for her to fill it up. Plus, when you start living in that way, it makes it so you're not so accessible, which keeps your woman in a position to where she wants to psychologically reach for you. It kind of keeps her oriented towards your presence and moving in your direction, whereas neediness creates the opposite scenario. It makes her want to move away from you. So moving in this way gives you a stronger center of gravity. It's provides deep roots in your life so that you can effectively nurture yourself and thus become less needy in the process. The second thing you need to do, and this is especially effective if you're single, is you need to enjoy your solitude. If you're a single guy out there and you're not in a relationship, you need to be able to enjoy your solitude. This kind of connects with the first point, because if you built out a life for yourself, if you're still being social, you're still making friends, going out with friends, have hobbies, have interests, have goals that you're pursuing, it's going to be a lot easier for you to enjoy your solitude. If you're sitting in the house, jerking off, jerking with the jerkins, right? Watching TV, playing video games, you're draining your energy. You're going to want a partner to be with you. Again, there's no problem with desiring a relationship, but you don't want to need it. So here's a very simple heuristic for you if you're currently single. You need to put yourself in a position to where you can enjoy your solitude. And you know you're ready for a relationship. You know that you are less needy when it comes to a relationship when you are at peace with being alone. When you become at peace with being alone, you are enjoying your solitude. You are primed to now enter into a relationship. Because if you enter in a relationship because you need the relationship, that neediness is just going to be exacerbated in the relationship. So a precondition for not being needy in the relationship is for you to not need it before you even have it. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's an incredibly important point. Now, the third way to not be needy is more important than the other two. These all kind of blend in together, but the third way is going to be very, very important for you to implement, because if you miss this step, it's going to be harder to execute on the other steps. And that is, you must know your values. Every client I talk to, man or woman, when I ask them what their values are, they cannot tell me. At best, they can tell me what they value in a relationship or what they value when it comes to them, how they want to be treated. But they can't tell me what their values are because they don't have a strong sense of self. They get their identity based on what the world tells them, right? They get their identity based on the opinions of others, which makes them needy, right? So your values serve as your anchor to your identity. If you do not have clarity on your values, I would argue you don't even know who you are. You know your name, you know your age, you know your social security number, you know your who your parents are, but you don't know who you are, devoid of all those things. Okay? You need to know what your values are. And values normally aren't necessarily created, they're normally revealed. For example, I'm very family oriented. I didn't choose to be family oriented. I just assessed my behavior and how I spend my time, and I tend to spend a lot of time around family. I am into health and fitness, right? I am into personal growth. I'm into contribution. That's why I make these videos and why I even started my coaching practice, right? You want your values to serve to be your anchor. Now, having your values is key to validating yourself internally. Remember, there's nothing necessarily wrong with getting external validation. There's a problem with needing external validation because that effectively makes you needy. You also want to be able to validate yourself internally. You become proud of you. You pour into your own cup. The reason why values are so important is because when you live a life that is congruent with your values and you make progress on being in alignment with your values, you become proud of yourself. And in the act of becoming proud of yourself, you validate yourself internally. You become Teflon to the opinions of people who are outside of you. Your values are going to position you to give yourself this gift. Because in order to validate yourself, you have to give yourself something to measure. Without knowing your values, you don't know what to measure. You'll start measuring random shit, right? But when you have your values, now you have a starting point. Now you know what you need to measure. Now you measure yourself by how congruent you are with your values. This unlocks everything, man. This unlocks everything. Let's say you have two men who are approaching women, guy A and guy B. Both of them get rejected. Guy A gets rejected and he's needy. He is fixated on external validation. When guy A gets rejected, he ruins his day. He starts shitting on himself. He starts becoming cynical and he swears off women, becomes a red pill, and now he just shits on people like me in my comment section, right? Guy B approaches the woman. He gets rejected, but his values is acting in a courageous manner. So to him, even though he got rejected, he still acted courageously. He still acted in a way that was in alignment with his values. So it didn't matter what the result was. it was still a win for him because of how he looks at the situation. This is why your values are so fucking important. It kind of changes how you orient yourself to life. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. You need to get your values down. You need to build out a life, and you need to enjoy your solitude. If you need more help with that, I have a coaching practice where I coach men and women and help them with their love life, whether you are single, dating, or whether you're in a relationship. I help give you clarity over the situation that you're in, and I give you a step-by-step action plan so you leave the call knowing exactly what to do next in your situation. So if you are a guy or a woman watching this video and you need a little bit of guidance, things aren't going well for you, I have a link to book a coaching call in the description below. I look forward to speaking with you.